Imagine for a minute that you're a web agency. You've got anywhere from 20 to 50 sites that you're managing and that you're maintaining. Most of these sites were built on WordPress, about 95% of them. But out of these WordPress sites, all of them were built with themes from ThemeForest or Template Monster. And you chose these themes because they got you 85 to 90% of the way to your goal. And the last 10 or 15% of the development you did in-house. You modified everything. But here's what you didn't know. In September 2014, it was announced that Slider Revolution and ShowBiz Pro had security vulnerabilities that would allow attackers to take over a site. It allowed them direct access to the database files and the WP config file. The problem is, this was patched in February of 2014, silently, underneath the radar. This plugin was not updated for anyone who bought a theme that had this plugin already bundled into it. Normally when you log in the WP admin, you see the list of plugins and themes that need to be updated. These plugins, and there's many more, it's not just this one company, there's many other plugins that are bundled into themes. You will never see if these need to be updated, ever. So the web developers at these shops, at these web design firms, have to go through and upload the plugin files to each of these sites manually. Fast forward to December of 2014. The same vulnerability is now being exploited by a malware injector called SoakSoak. It injects malware into a site. It redirects people to a Russian site called SoakSoak, and it can potentially infect other people's computers of people who are visiting those sites. Over 100,000 sites were affected by this. This was 100,000 people that either didn't have their plugin updated, didn't take the update seriously, they were doing it by themselves, or their web agency was no longer involved. This is a big problem. Now, do-it-yourselfers only account for about 2% of all websites that are built. The other 98% of all sites that are successfully built in the US and Canada are built with the help of a developer or a web agency. This means, out of those 100,000 sites, 98,000 of those sites that are still infected were built with the developer's help. Ask yourself this series of questions. If you're a web agency, if you're any type of independent developer, firm, whatever it is, if you're buying themes that have plugins already bundled into them, how do you know when those plugins need updates? Do you have somebody checking each and every site? Do you have a list of every plugin that's bundled into every theme on every client site that you manage? And are you checking that list? So when you find out about updates like this that have to be done manually, do you charge the client for maintenance? Do you charge them for developmental hours? What if they don't want to pay for maintenance hours? Do you skip it or do you do it? What happens if a client site that you manage that doesn't have a monthly maintenance agreement gets infected by one of these attacks, one of these exploits, one of these security vulnerabilities, because you chose a theme with plugins bundled and you did not update the plugin or didn't know to update the plugin because it didn't come public? And if you have 20 sites, how long does this take you each month? If you have 50 sites, how long does this take you to do each month? If you have 100 sites that you're managing, how long does this take you to do each month? I'm not asking these questions to ruffle any feathers or piss anyone off. I'm asking these questions because they're valid. There are things that you and I need to think about as web professionals, as web consultants, as web developers. Maybe, just maybe, shortcutting to ThemeForest or Template Monster or any of these other marketplaces is a step we should very carefully consider as part of the overall design process. Yes, it's convenient to have sliders and plugins already bundled into themes. We don't need to go hunt them down. But we need to think about what repercussions those decisions early in the process have on our client sites for the lifetime of their site. If you like what you've seen here today, then do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. This will ensure that you never miss another one of these videos ever again. My name is John Locke. My website is lockdowndesign.com, and I will be here building a business one person at a time and building a community one relationship at a time. Thank you so much for watching, and peace.
John Locke is a web developer and consultant based in Sacramento, California. You can find him online at lockdowndesign.com.